The race for advanced military technology has entered a crucial phase, with new innovations poised to redefine air combat. Leading this transformation is the United States, unveiling a next-generation supersonic aircraft that could change the future of warfare. What gives the Quiet X-59 its incredible speed and stealth? How is it different from anything we've seen before? And what impact could it have on global defense? In this video, we explore the X-59, a breakthrough aircraft that could reshape modern aviation and military strategy. Developed by NASA and Lockheed Martin, the X-59 is a major step forward in supersonic flight. Originally designed in 2016, its first flight was planned for 2021, but delivery is now expected in 2025. Capable of flying at 55,000 feet and reaching speeds of 1,500 kilometers per hour, more than 1.5 times the speed of sound, it's built to fly fast while staying quiet. Unlike traditional supersonic jets, the X-59 produces a soft thump rather than a loud sonic boom, measuring around 75 decibels, similar to the sound of a closing car door. NASA's journey toward quiet supersonic flight began in early 2016. As winter ended, Lockheed Martin was chosen to design a new aircraft. A small test model, just 9% the size of the real plane, was built and tested in wind tunnels from February to April 2017. The tests examined how the model performed at speeds between 230 and 1,200 miles per hour. When NASA opened the project for competitive bids in August 2017, Lockheed Martin was the only company to submit a proposal. The U.S. Air Force later named the aircraft the X-59 QSSST. That fall, NASA conducted new wind tunnel tests with an 8% scale model, exploring how the aircraft would behave at steep angles up to 88 degrees, far beyond earlier tests that only reached 13 degrees. Engineers used lasers to study airflow and refined their understanding through simulations and experiments. In late 2018, NASA began critical noise testing. Over 2 weeks, they generated up to 8 sonic booms per day across different areas, using an F/A-18 Hornet jet. The aircraft would dive from 50,000 feet, creating 2 distinct sounds: a soft thump over residential areas and a louder boom over the ocean. NASA placed 20 sensors on the ground and asked 400 residents to report what they heard, offering each participant $25 per week. By mid-2019, Lockheed Martin began assembling the full-scale X-59. Meanwhile, NASA tested its new external vision system, essential because the aircraft's sleek design blocks the pilot's forward view. Engineers installed the system on a King Air test plane at Langley to evaluate how cameras and displays could replace a traditional cockpit window. The project also involved research at NASA's Glenn Research Center to support this key innovation. To test the design, engineers used a scaled-down model, about 1/10 the size of the real aircraft, in wind tunnels to see if airflow matched predictions from computer simulations. In September 2019, NASA engineers spent a week carefully reviewing the X-59's design. Once approved, they released about 80 to 90% of the technical drawings to start building the aircraft, aiming to finish the wing by the following year. By December 2022, half the aircraft was complete, and a first flight was scheduled for later that year. NASA planned to test the plane at its Armstrong Flight Research Center. Special cameras would capture shock waves in sunlight to confirm that the aircraft produced soft sonic thumps, not loud booms. These tests, expected to finish by September 2022, aimed to prove the plane was safe and quiet enough to fly over land. If successful, the project could pave the way for commercial supersonic flights over land, currently banned due to noise. Testing would continue through 2025. From 2023 to 2025, the X-59 would fly over select communities to gather public feedback. This data would be submitted in 2027 to international and U.S. aviation authorities to help them decide by 2028 whether to allow supersonic travel over land. By late 2022, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works in Palmdale installed the aircraft's engine, a General Electric F414E-100, producing 22,000 pounds of thrust and measuring 13 feet in length. NASA targeted the first flight, for 2024. In August 2023, Lockheed rolled the aircraft out of the hangar, and it was officially unveiled in January 2024. Engine tests began shortly after, with the first flight planned for 2025. The X-59 measures 99.7 feet in length, with a 29.5-foot wingspan. It has a takeoff weight of 32,300 pounds and cruises at 940 miles per hour at 55,000 feet, reaching a top speed of 990 miles per hour. To reduce costs, engineers reuse components. The cockpit is from a Northrop T-38 trainer, and the landing gear from an F-16. The engine uses an afterburner when extra thrust is needed. The X-59 is designed to be much quieter than earlier supersonic aircraft, producing about 60 decibels, roughly 1/1000 th, as loud as older models. Its long, slender shape and forward canards spread out pressure waves, minimizing the sonic boom. Tests in 2018 predicted 75 perceived decibels, about as loud as a car door closing, compared to the Concorde's 105 to 110 decibels. Mounting the engine on top of the fuselage helps reduce ground noise, though it affects airflow. The cockpit is flush with the fuselage, and the long nose blocks forward visibility. To solve this, the X-59 uses a high-resolution camera system with a 33 degrees field of view instead of a traditional windshield. Collins Aerospace supplied advanced displays in 2019, using Proline fusion screens that show where shock waves will hit the ground. Two main camera systems support the pilot: a Collins EVS 3600 under the nose for landings and NASA's external vision system ahead of the cockpit for forward visibility. Supersonic flight has long pushed the limits of aviation. Though militaries have used such aircraft for decades, only two passenger models ever flew: the Soviet Tu-144, which first flew on December 31, 1968, and the Concorde, which followed on March 2, 1969. Today, supersonic planes are mostly limited to military use. Breaking the sound barrier creates shock waves, heard as a sonic boom, similar to how waves form in front of a fast-moving boat. The Bell X-1 was the first confirmed aircraft to do this, flown by Chuck Yeager on October 14, 1947. It used a rocket engine powered by liquid oxygen and alcohol. Though some pilots claimed to go supersonic during World War II, Yeager's flight was the first verified. Jacqueline Cochran later became the first woman to break the sound barrier in an F-86 Sabre. Another milestone occurred in 1951 when German pilot Wolfgang Ziegler flew the DFS-346. Dropped from a B-29 at 32,800 feet, he reached 683 miles per hour, enough to break the sound barrier at that altitude. In 1961, a Douglas DC-8 became the first commercial jet to exceed the speed of sound during a controlled dive at Edwards Air Force Base. During the 1960s and 70s, engineers built the Tu-144 and Concorde supersonic passenger jets. But high costs, noise, environmental concerns, and a fatal crash limited their success. Flying faster than sound drastically changes aerodynamics. Drag increases rapidly, so powerful engines and sleek designs are required. Designers face difficult choices. Short wings help with speed but hurt takeoff and landing efficiency. Some aircraft used variable sweep wings to address this, but the added weight and complexity posed challenges. Delta wings offered a better solution, balancing speed and stability. The Concorde used a specialized delta wing that generated lift through swirling airflow at steep angles. This helped it withstand supersonic pressure, but required steep takeoffs and landings, consuming more fuel. Extra flaps helped offset this. Most modern aircraft are made from aluminum alloys, which are cheap and easy to shape. However, they weaken at high temperatures, limiting top speeds to around Mach 2. Military jets can exceed this briefly in combat, but not for long durations. Some aircraft were built to cruise at supersonic speeds, like the State Route 71 Blackbird and the Concorde. Both faced heat and pressure challenges. Early supersonic aircraft used rocket engines, offering high thrust but burning fuel quickly, limiting flight time. Turbojets saved fuel but lacked power, So hybrid designs emerged, using turbojets for subsonic flight and rockets for boosts. The breakthrough came with afterburners, injecting fuel into the exhaust stream for extra thrust without switching engines. Modern supersonic planes use turbofan engines, which direct some air around the engine core, improving efficiency. Combined with afterburners, they offer the speed and fuel economy needed for sustained supersonic travel. The State Route 71 had one of the most advanced engines ever made. It functioned like a normal jet at takeoff, but at high speed, rerouted air straight to the exhaust for added thrust. This allowed it to cruise above Mach 3. At those speeds, heat was extreme. Standard jet fuel would degrade and clog the engine. The State Route 71 used JP-7 fuel, designed to handle over 600 degrees Fahrenheit, 316 degrees Celsius. It was so stable it required a chemical called triethylborane just to ignite. JP-7 also cooled the aircraft by absorbing excess heat,